On Father's Day, my darling daughter Olivia gave me a pair of socks. $15. Navy blue. Absolutely riveting. The kind of gift that screams, "Daddy, I love you," almost as much as the bargain bin at Walmart. And she gave them to me with that look. The one that says, "Aren't you lucky? You'll never have cold ankles again." Yes, Olivia. Nothing says paternal appreciation like footwear that'll shrink after one wash. But then, as fate would have it, or more accurately, as irony enjoys tormenting me, later that very day I saw her father-in-law prancing around with a brand new Rolex. A Rolex. 10 grand. Paid for with my money. The very same money she called a vital expense. Ah yes, the medical emergency that apparently meant William's wrist was gravely underdressed. How silly of me not to notice. After that, she rang me 17 times, begging, pleading, "Daddy, don't do this." 17. Which is impressive, really. That's more effort than she's put into my birthdays for the last decade combined. But by then it was too late. My patience, like my hairline, had packed its bags and left years ago. Now, the sun poured through the living room windows, painting golden streaks across the world's most tragic sofa. The same one that had absorbed 20 years of tea stains, takeaways, and quiet disappointments. I sat there, waiting for Olivia, like some overexcited Labrador. Because despite everything, despite the years of slights, the snide remarks, the sense I was just her personal ATM with legs, a small, idiotic part of me still hoped she might surprise me. The old clock ticked, relentless. 20 years since Ellen died. 20 years since I sold every dream I had just to keep the girl afloat. And what did I get for it? Lemon polish, socks, and a creeping suspicion I should have invested in wine instead of education. The doorbell chimed, and my heart actually lifted. Stupid man. I opened the door, and there she was, Olivia. My pride and joy. Except now she looked less like my little girl, and more like she'd stepped out of a catalog titled Pretentious Urban Couple. Her auburn hair scraped back into a bun, so tight I thought she might be storing family secrets under it. Designer coat that screamed, "Yes, Daddy, I am better than you." And of course, Liam, her husband, looming behind her like a smug coat rack with a mortgage. "Happy Father's Day, Daddy," she said, with a voice as sweet as poison wrapped in bubblegum, and thrust the bag at me. A gift bag, so light I briefly wondered if she just stuffed it with disappointment. I pulled out the socks. Navy. Price tag dangling proudly, as if to say, "Look, Daddy, we spent real money on this." $15. Marvelous. Practical, I muttered. Always dreamed of these. And Olivia laughed, brittle, sharp. Exactly. Something useful, right? Not like you need anything fancy. Well, quite. God forbid the old man gets fancy. Who does he think he is, human? Liam leaned against the doorframe, smirk painted on like he practiced in the mirror. "Yeah, Paul, you're a simple guy. No need for extravagance." His voice dripped condescension, the kind you can only get from a man who's never actually paid for his own Netflix subscription. I nodded. Because what else do you do when your daughter's married to a loaf of smug sourdough? I folded the socks carefully, as though they were made of gold. Because that's what you do when you're busy pretending you're not dying inside. I asked if they'd stay for coffee. I already knew the answer, but apparently I enjoy humiliating myself. "Oh, we've got plans," Olivia said. "Of course you do, darling. Dinner with William. Naturally. The man with the Rolex. The new best dad." They were gone in minutes, leaving behind a silence so thick it could have been bottled. I looked at Ellen's photo. My Ellen. And I asked her, silently, pathetically, "Did we fail?" Because raising a daughter who treats you like an overdraft limit does feel like failing, doesn't it? The socks mocked me from the counter. "Something useful," she'd said. Useful. Like a doormat. And then I saw it. Her post. A photo of William, smiling, smug, with a Rolex glinting like a neon sign spelling out, "Sucker." Her caption? "To the best father-in-law. A gift that matches your class." My stomach dropped, my blood turned ice, and my hand started shaking like a pensioner at bingo night. Because 2 months ago, Olivia rang me, crying, trembling voice. "Daddy, I need $10,000. It's vital." Medical stuff. And like an idiot, I wired it over. No questions asked. Of course I did. Because that's what dads do, isn't it? They torch their lives to keep their kids warm. And now, the money was on William's wrist. Ticking. Mocking. Each second a reminder of just how spectacularly I'd been played. That was the moment something in me snapped. Not loudly. Quietly. Like a lock clicking shut. Olivia kept calling, begging. Daddy, don't do this. But by then, regret had no seat at the table. Only resolve. And apparently, socks. My fingers hovered over the keyboard, trembling with a fury I hadn't felt in years. $10,000. My $10,000. Once described to me by Olivia as a vital expense, now rebranded as a Rolex for her father-in-law. Nothing says medical emergency quite like an under-accessorized pensioner. Does it? I slammed the laptop shut, violently enough that the neighbors probably thought I was finally auditioning for a rock band. The sound sliced through the kitchen silence. Even the clock seemed to judge me, ticking away like, yes, Paul, time you'll never get back. Tick, tick, you idiot. Every second was a reminder. The late shifts, the missed holidays, the abandoned dreams. Dreams that, in hindsight, could have been better invested in a therapist instead of Olivia's tuition. I stood, chair scraping the tiles like a soundtrack to my breakdown, grabbed my jacket, and stormed out. The socks stayed on the counter, price tag dangling, a silent accusation in polyester form. Outside, the suburb looked disgustingly perfect. Manicured lawns, blooming azaleas, neighbors probably inside sipping oat milk lattes and talking about their Pilates instructors. All that perfection, just a thin layer of gloss over the rot. If Stepford had a Chicago branch, I'd apparently moved in. The sky was heavy, threatening rain, which felt appropriate. Nothing like a pathetic fallacy to really hammer the point home. My phone buzzed in my pocket, Olivia's 17th call. I ignored it. Let it vibrate against my thigh like an annoying conscience. Daddy, don't do this. What did she think I'd do? Knit myself into forgiveness with my new socks? I walked to the park. Quiet. Swing swaying empty. A ghost town of childhood memories I hadn't asked to revisit. I stopped at the old bench. The one where I used to push Olivia on the swings. Her giggles bouncing around like pure sunlight. She was 6 then. Pigtails, chubby cheeks, promising me she'd always be my little girl. And like a moron, I believed her. Now that promise felt as genuine as her vital expense. I sat, bench creaking under me like it too was tired of this melodrama. I stared at the empty swing, but all I saw was that bloody Rolex, ticking, laughing, probably having a better Father's Day than me. Paul, that you? Carl, my neighbor. Out jogging with his spaniel, cheeks pink, smile cheerful. The sort of man who thinks the world's basically fine because his recycling bin got collected on time. Didn't expect to see you here, he said, reining in the dog. Thought you'd be celebrating with Olivia. Celebrating. Oh yes, Carl, socks and betrayal. It's a party that never ends. Celebrating's done, I muttered, flatter than supermarket champagne. Carl tilted his head, curious, but I waved him off. Then he dropped a bomb with all the subtlety of a marching band. Saw your girl downtown last month at that fancy jeweler's store on Oak Street. Looked like she was picking out something big. Oh, did she now? Big? Yes, Carl, she bought her father-in-law a wrist shrine, using the money I'd earmarked for her fake medical emergency. My throat tightened. Yeah, I said, somehow holding it together. She does have expensive taste. Translation, my bank account has expensive taste, Carl. Olivia just borrows it. The park spun. Swings blurred. Oak Street. Jeweler's store. Rolex. My stomach twisted like it was auditioning for Cirque du Soleil. Carl kept chatting about the weather, blissfully unaware he'd just confirmed my worst suspicions. Got to get home before the rain, he said, jogging off with a wave. Lovely man. Human grenade. The first raindrops fell, speckling my jacket. The swing creaked, a relic of a life that was gone. My steps back were heavier, every stride sinking deeper into anger that was slowly calcifying into something colder, sharper. Back in the kitchen, the socks still sat there, polyester witnesses to my humiliation. $15 worth of fatherhood. Across from them, the Rolex burned in my mind like a neon sign spelling out loser. Laptop open again. Hand steady now. The photo still on the screen. I typed Oak Street Jeweler Store into the search bar, jaw tight enough to snap teeth. The illusion of my daughter was gone, stripped bare. What remained was a stranger with my credit card details. The rain tapped against the window, steady, like a heartbeat. A reminder that there was no going back now. Next thing I knew, the rain was drumming on my windscreen as I pulled into the lot near Oak Street. The wipers swished rhythmically, the only sound besides the blood pounding in my ears. I clutched the folded printout of William's Rolex, like it was Exhibit A in the trial of the century. Yesterday's shock had hardened overnight into obsession. I didn't need answers anymore. I needed confirmation, proof, truth, or as close as Oak Street was willing to sell it. The jeweler's store glowed ahead, smug as anything. Inside, it was another universe. Marble floors, chandeliers sparkling like they were laughing at me, glass cases filled with glittering reminders that I was woefully out of my financial depth. A young clerk glided over. Perfect suit, perfect smile. She looked me up and down, rumpled jacket, scuffed shoes, and I swear I saw her file me under doesn't belong here. Funny, because Olivia had walked these very floors too, except she had my 10 grand. And apparently that's the ticket to belonging. I need information, I said, pulling out the printout. My voice calm, heart racing like a drunk drummer. This watch. Was it purchased here? She glanced at it, and I saw it. Recognition. My stomach dropped into my socks, not the new ones, the metaphorical ones. She disappeared behind a velvet curtain, because of course they have velvet curtains, and a man emerged, balding, expensive suit, manager aura. I'm Mr. Kessler, he said, his voice professional, but with that hint of I know something you don't. He looked at the printout. Rolex Daytona. Yes, we sold one like it in March. And that was it. Confirmation. The betrayal was real as the chandeliers, the Rolex, and the socks waiting for me at home. It was a gift, I managed. And God, wasn't that the understatement of the year? I slapped my credit card statement onto the counter like I was handing over evidence in a murder trial. 10 grand. Circled in red. My dignity, also circled in red, but sadly invisible. This is my account, I said, voice steady, although inside I was unraveling like a Primark jumper after one wash. Was it used for the purchase? Kessler, the jeweler, gave me a look. That knowing, slightly pitying one reserved for middle-aged men discovering their daughters prefer Rolexes to socks. He tapped at his tablet, nodded with all the gravity of a judge delivering a sentence. Yes. Matches perfectly. March 15th, young woman. Brought a man. Said it was for a family member. Family member. That phrase hit me like a frying pan. Oh yes, a family member. Just not the one who'd raised her, paid her bills, and bought her overpriced prom dress because apparently the cheaper one made her look like a milkmaid. No, this gift was for her father-in-law, William, because clearly he needed a Rolex more than I needed self-respect. Was it real? I asked, in that low growl you do when you're praying the answer is counterfeit. Kessler arched a brow. Absolutely. 10,200 with tax. Brilliant. Not only was I betrayed in HD with receipts. I folded the printout carefully, like it was a sacred scroll of humiliation, and stepped outside. The rain welcomed me with all the enthusiasm of a divorce lawyer smelling fresh meat. In my car, I sat staring at the crumpled paper in my fist. A Rolex. My money. My idiot optimism. All sparkling away on William's wrist while I got, oh yes, socks. 10 quid socks. A thrilling trade-off. My reflection in the rearview mirror was almost unrecognizable. Gray hair, tired eyes, but a new hardness, the kind you get after life kicks you repeatedly in the shins and then asks you to thank it. The Paul in that mirror wasn't the Paul who'd smiled at socks. He was a man rehearsing his villain origin story. On the passenger seat, My phone glowed with Olivia's name. Missed calls, 20. The girl was practically auditioning for Stalker of the Year. Clearly. She knew I'd seen the photo, knew I was sniffing around her shiny little eye. I pressed call. My jaw was clenched tight enough to crack enamel. She answered on the first ring. Daddy, finally. Why haven't you answered? Relief and irritation in one tone. That magical blend only children can manage when they've stolen 10 grand and somehow still think you're the inconvenience. I've been busy, I said slowly, deliberately. Had to check on something. Like, I don't know, a 10,000 pounds Rolex. The silence was golden. Well, actually more platinum. The sort of silence you get when someone's brain is sprinting through excuses like it's sports day. What are you talking about? She snapped, though her voice cracked just enough to betray her. Oh, don't play dumb, Olivia. You'd lose. I went to the store. Oak Street. Lovely place. Great lighting. They confirmed it was you. Her brittle laugh could have cut glass. God, you always make a mountain out of nothing. It was a gift. William's done so much for us. You wouldn't understand. No, you're right. I wouldn't understand. Because when I think of doing so much, I think of paying school fees, fixing broken boilers, and mopping up the vomit from that time you drank half a bottle of Malibu at 17. Not buying a man who already owns half a golf course, a bloody Rolex. With my money, I said flatly. You told me it was for medical bills. Vital, you said. Do you remember that word? Vital. Unless William's wrist was dying of poverty, I don't quite see the emergency. This isn't your business, she snapped, her pitch rising like a kettle boiling over. You don't get to control what I do. I'm not a kid anymore. Daddy. That word daddy, dripping with venom, landed like a slap. The old switcheroo. Go from damsel in distress to snotty teenager in record time. Classic. Then act like an adult, I said, ice cold. Her breathing sharpened down the line. You're so petty. I don't have time for this. Click. She hung up. Because of course she did. When in doubt, slam the door, or, in modern times, the red button. I sat in the car, staring at the glowing screen, the word petty bouncing round my skull. Petty. 10 grand lighter, socks heavier, and I'm petty. Lovely. The rain hammered down, drowning everything else. I stepped out, let it soak me, let the cold bite. It felt clarifying. Like nature's way of saying, yes mate, you've been mugged off, but at least your pores are open. I opened my notes app, thumbs wet, and typed her exact words. Petty. Not your business. Each one a brick in the case I was quietly building. Olivia thought she'd dismiss me. But she'd made a mistake. Because if you call me petty, I'll prove you right, spectacularly. Then my phone buzzed. Unknown number. Perfect. Because if your life is already on fire, why not add another petrol can? The text lit up my screen like a bad omen. Mr. Thompson, I'm Elaine Carter, attorney. Heard you might need help. Meet me tomorrow, 9 a.m., 200 M LaSalle. Brilliant. When life kicks you in the teeth, apparently the universe sends you a solicitor. Like a fairy godmother, but with a billable rate. I stared at the message, rain dripping down my screen, blurring the words. Of course. Even the weather was dramatic now. Morning came, and I found myself in Elaine Carter's office. Well, office might be a generous term. Imagine if a law library and a student flat had a love child, papers everywhere, coffee mugs breeding in corners. The smell of stale espresso and crushed dreams. Outside, Chicago gleamed with its glass towers, smug and untouchable. Inside, I sat with my bank statement spread before me like the autopsy report of my dignity. Elaine leaned back, her blazer wrinkled, her eyes sharp. Laugh lines telling me she'd seen more disasters than a fire marshal. So, she said, tapping her pen like a judge about to ruin my day. Your daughter's got a taste for Rolexes and a talent for lying. I almost applauded. At least someone was finally calling it what it was. That about sums it up, I muttered. The $10,000 charge glared up at me. A neat little line of black ink, except it may as well have said, congratulations, you've raised a con artist. Elaine smirked. Socks for Father's Day. Kids have nerve. Nerve. Yes. That's one word for it. Fraudulent entitlement with a bow On top, that's another. She leaned forward. But nerve doesn't pay for watches. Let's talk options. You want to protect what's yours, right? Protect what's mine. What a concept. After 20 years of handing over every penny to my darling daughter, I wasn't sure I owned anything anymore. Not even self-respect. I do, I said, though the words tasted foreign. But I don't know where to start. She's my daughter. Translation. I'm a mug. Elaine didn't flinch. You're not the first parent she's burned. And Paul, you won't be the last unless you act. She slid a contract across the desk. It looked official, terrifying, and slightly sticky. We start with freezing her access to your accounts. Then we dig. See what else she's been up to. A lifeline. Or a noose. Hard to tell sometimes. I picked up the pen. A memory flashed, Olivia's wedding. Her glowing smile when I handed her the check for the venue. My dream of an Italian holiday gone in one signature. I told myself it was worth it back then. That she'd carry the love forward. Now, she was just carrying my debit card. I signed. My pen steady, my soul wobbling. Elaine nodded. Good. We'll start with your bank. Every transaction she's touched. You sure about this? It's not just money. It's family. I stood, walked to the window. Chicago sprawled below. Loud, relentless, indifferent. I've given her everything, I said, low, quiet. Time to take something back. The words felt alien. Almost satisfying. Like finally ordering dessert after years of pretending salad fills you up. We hashed through accounts, dates, legal steps. Elaine even cracked a joke about teaching Olivia the value of $1. I actually laughed. One of those grim, slightly feral laughs that makes waiters back away. Later at the bank, the clerk glanced at me as I froze Olivia's access. Secondary user, Olivia Thompson, will be notified. Excellent. Let her find out the way she found out Santa wasn't real, sudden, cruel, and probably ending in tears. When he handed me the confirmation form, I slid it back with a blank face. Inside, though, triumph was doing cartwheels, while grief nursed a quiet pint in the corner. Blocking her card wasn't about money. It was about reclaiming the dignity she'd stomped into the carpet. I met Elaine again in a cafe down the street. She was already there, laptop open, half a scone massacred on her plate. Well, she asked. Signed and done, I said, allowing myself a faint, smug smile. She's cut off. The words felt solid, satisfying. Like turning the key on a door I should have locked years ago. Elaine grinned. Bet she'll love that more than those socks you got. Her wit was sharp, but her eyes held respect. My daughter, she said, leaning back, is about to learn what a practical gift really means. And for the first time in months, I felt lighter. Not fixed, not healed, but lighter. Elaine tapped her laptop like she was ordering Doom off Amazon Prime. I'm pulling records. Might find more of her shopping sprees. You ready for what we uncover? Was I ready? Hardly. But at this point, what was left to lose? My socks? I nodded, sipping my coffee. Its bitterness and exact flavor matched to my mood. I need to know everything, I said. Translation. Please confirm my child is worse than I already suspect, so I can stop clinging to the fantasy that she just needed bus fare. A memory crept in, Olivia's wedding. Her hand on my arm, doe-eyed, as I gave her access to my card. It'll help me start strong, Daddy. Oh, it helped her start strong, all right. Strong in debt, strong in entitlement, strong in Rolexes. The cafe clock hung on the wall, hands frozen at 11:43. A silent witness to my character development, or, as I like to call it, the slow death of naivety. Elaine outlined the next steps, track the spending, build the case, reclaim my backbone. She spoke like someone who actually knew what the hell they were doing, which was refreshing, because I certainly didn't. You're doing this for you, Paul, she said softly. Not just to punish her. Remember that. It was almost touching, except the last time I did something for me, I bought a sandwich I didn't share and got guilt-tripped about it for a week. My phone buzzed, slicing the moment in half. Olivia again. Call after call after call. The girl had more persistence than a Jehovah's Witness with a quota. Then the voicemail came. I pressed play. Daddy, what the hell did you do? My cards declined. Fix this now. Her fury was pure, unfiltered, like budget tequila. A crack in the polished facade. Honestly, if she'd thrown in a "you've ruined my life," it would have been GCSE-level teenage drama. I set the phone down, the cup warm in my hand. Elaine raised an eyebrow. I smiled, thin, sharp, resolute. Almost villainous, if villains wore charity shop jumpers and made their own tea. Later at home, the twilight slouched through the curtains like it couldn't be bothered. The old clock on the mantel still stuck, a symbol of both broken timepieces and broken parenting. My phone lit up again, 17 missed calls in an hour. Impressive. I didn't even get that much attention when I nearly died of pneumonia. The next voicemail hit play. Daddy, what the hell? My cards declined. Fix this, or I swear we're done. We're done. As if I was the liar. As if I was the one who blew 10 grand on a Rolex for William Bloody Golden Wrists. And, apparently, socks were my consolation prize. I walked to the kitchen, filled the kettle. Steam rose like my blood pressure. The air smelled faintly of lemon polish, Ellen's old habit. Even dead, she was tidier than me alive. This time I answered. Olivia, stop calling. Her gasp was almost comical. Stop calling? You cut me off, Daddy. How am I supposed to live? You're being selfish. Selfish. Oh yes, me. The man who paid her college fees, her wedding, her lies. All selfishness, clearly. You used my money for a Rolex. Lied about medical bills, I said. Explain that. Silence. Then, the classic manipulative soft voice routine. It's not what you think. William's important to us. You wouldn't get it. Just fix the card. Please. Ah, the please. A child's plea, except coming from a grown woman with acrylic nails and a bottomless sense of entitlement. No, I said. And it felt final. Like canceling a subscription you should have binned years ago. She hissed back, you'll regret this. Liam won't let this slide. Liam. Her husband. The human beige cardigan. Threatening me now? Spectacular. I set the phone down, touched the stop clock. Its brass cool, unyielding. A memory flickered. Her at 10, sobbing into my shirt after a playground fight. Back then, I was her safe place. Now, I was her obstacle. Growth, eh? The kettle whistled. I poured my tea, ignored the photos smiling back at me from the shelf. She wasn't that girl anymore. And I wasn't the father who forgave endlessly. My phone buzzed again, this time, not her. A text from Elaine. Police station tomorrow. 8 a.m. Olivia and Liam filed complaint. I've got your back. Of course. Nothing says thank you for 20 years of sacrifice, like dragging your father to the police. The room shrank. My tea went cold. The old clock didn't tick, but I did. The fight was just beginning. I blocked their access. Yes, I said it, theft. Not oversight, not a little mix-up with Dad's card, not even oops, did I accidentally buy a Rolex instead of insulin? Nope. Theft. Daniels, the officer, raised an eyebrow like I just accused the Queen of nicking my lunch money. Elaine, bless her, leaned forward all businesslike, voice sharp enough to slice toast. Officer, my client has every right to protect his assets. Translation, my daughter's not entitled to raid my account like it's the family pick and mix. Elaine slid a folder across the desk, bank statements, receipts, and a jeweler's confirmation. Basically the holy trinity of your honor, she's a liar. Daniels frowned at the papers. This says the purchase was for a Rolex. You're saying she lied about medical bills. Yes, Sherlock, precisely that. Except Amelia's version involved urgent hospital fees and a tearful performance worthy of an Oscar. I suppose a 10,000-pound watch is technically a kind of medical equipment, if you're allergic to being seen without luxury accessories. Exactly, I said, locking eyes with him. And for once in this miserable circus, someone actually looked like they might believe me. Miracles do happen, though still no sign of Jesus descending with a refund. Elaine's hand brushed my arm, a subtle don't lunge across the desk signal. She was right, though. Daniels needed me calm, not reenacting a Shakespearean meltdown. Officer, this complaint is retaliatory, Elaine said smoothly. If anything, we're considering charges for fraud. I swear I saw Daniel's posture change from my yes, the doddering dad abusing his poor daughter, to hang on, maybe the daughter's a walking Daily Mail headline. He closed the folder and grunted. We'll review this, but I'll need statements from both parties. Translation: more paperwork, less prison jumpsuit. A win in my book. We left. Elaine's car smelled of leather and mint gum, luxury and competence. My car, in comparison, smells like regret and lost alimony payments. They're desperate, she said, flicking her wrist. Her watch caught the light, ticking away like time had no interest in my family drama. Filing a complaint is a weak move. We've got them on the ropes. I nodded, staring at the rain-smeared skyline. Liam's name on that complaint, that stung. Normally he just lurks in Amelia's shadow, like a Poundland Dracula. Now he's suddenly bold? Amazing what a free Rolex can do for one's courage. He's scared, Elaine smirked. They both are. She wasn't wrong. Nothing says panic like running to the police because your gravy train has left the station. Then Elaine dropped it. Ever thought about your will, Paul? Ah yes, nothing says casual Tuesday afternoon, like a conversation about who gets your stuff after you die. But she had a point. I pulled out my notebook, which by now looks less like a diary and more like a police evidence log, and wrote the word will. Heavy, deliberate. Felt like carving it into stone. The notary's office was calm, polished wood, and dust that probably predated the Magna Carta. I sat at a big oak table, facing the stack of documents that would effectively announce, "Congratulations, Amelia, you're cut off." The notary, silver hair and glasses, asked gently, "So this new will leaves everything to a trust with Miss Carter as executor?" "Yes," I said. My voice steady, my insides less so. No direct beneficiaries. I'd spent years planning Amelia's future. Now I was erasing her name like it was a spelling mistake. Elaine smiled. "You're doing the right thing, Paul. This cuts off their dreams of your money. Clean break. Plus, I'm a damn good executor." She winked. I laughed. Because if you don't laugh at signing your daughter out of your legacy, you cry into your lukewarm tea. The pen scratched across the paper, each signature like another little funeral for my old life. The notary stamped the pages. Thunk, thunk. Official. Done. Irreversible. We left, walked through a park. Kids laughed, birds soared. All very symbolic. Except my symbolism came with an aftertaste of bitterness and betrayal. Elaine said softly, "She's not gone, Paul. Just not your burden anymore." I wanted to believe that. Then my phone buzzed. William's name lit up. Oh good. Because what this saga needed was Amelia's Rolex-sporting sidekick weighing in. A call. Not a text. Apparently William doesn't do emojis. His voicemail growled in my ear. "Paul, we need to talk. Tomorrow, 10 a.m. My office." Lovely. Nothing says looking forward to retirement like being summoned by your daughter's father-in-law, who, by the way, wears wealth like aftershave. Fast forward to the next day, and there I was, stepping into his mansion. The chandelier sparkled so aggressively, I half expected it to demand my bank details too. The marble floor gleamed with the kind of polish money buys, the kind my mop has never even dreamt of. Elaine's note was in my pocket. William knows. Be ready. Brilliant. Just what I wanted. A family summit where the centerpiece isn't a turkey, but a 10-grand watch. William sat behind his mahogany desk, radiating enough fury to power the national grid. Elaine stood off to the side, calm as ever, like she wasn't about to referee the worst episode of Antiques Roadshow ever filmed. "Paul," William rumbled, sliding a velvet box across the desk. "I owe you an apology." Inside, the Rolex. The Rolex. The one Amelia bought with my money and called medical bills. Yes, because obviously the NHS hands out designer wrist candy these days. "You didn't know," I said, voice calm, hand steady, even though I wanted to launch the bloody thing out the window. She lied to us both. Years of sacrifice condensed into one shiny trinket, a Rolex, standing in for tuition fees, wedding costs, and all those just this once dad favors. Amelia had traded love for a watch. Poetic, really. If you like your poetry written by sociopaths. William looked crushed, like the watch had bitten him. She told me it was her gift, he muttered. To thank me for my support. I'd never have taken it if I'd known. Oh, the irony. The rich man tricked by the greedy daughter. The universe does occasionally have a sense of humor, it seems. Elaine swooped in, voice sharp as glass. Amelia misrepresented the funds. We have records, her signature, jeweler's confirmation. She used Paul's money without consent. Translation: your beloved daughter-in-law is a liar with a receipt trail. William slammed the box shut. She's been cozying up to my business, too. Dropping hints about investments. I thought it was ambition. Now I see it's greed. Finally. Welcome to the party, William. Took you long enough. I don't want your pity, I said, steady. I want what's right. For once, he nodded. Pushed the box back to me. Take it. I'll deal with Amelia. Now, I don't know what deal with Amelia means in William speak, but given his track record, I imagine it involves lawyers, accountants, and possibly excommunication from the family golf club. Either way, not my problem. I left with the Rolex in my lap, its glint mocking me from the passenger seat. Proof that I wasn't the fool Amelia thought. Although, let's be honest, I'd still been a spectacular idiot for years. Then, of course, the phone buzzed. Amelia. Missed call. Followed by a text. We need to talk. Yes, the classic line. Could mean plea, could mean trap, could mean help. Liam's lost his trousers again. Morning came. And there they were, Amelia and Liam, standing on my porch. Not in triumph this time. Not with smug little smiles and entitlement oozing out their pores. No. She looked frayed. Red-rimmed eyes. Hair messy. Poise gone. He looked, well, the same as ever. Spineless, hands shoved in his pockets, waiting for her to do the talking. Daddy, please, Amelia whispered. We're sorry. We messed up. The watch, the money, it was a mistake. A mistake. Of course. Accidentally dialed 10,000 pounds into the card machine. Did you? Oh, silly me. Thought it was 10 quid for petrol. Happens all the time. Liam piped up, voice shaky. Yeah, Paul. Things just got out of hand. I stared at him. Honestly, if Liam ever developed a backbone, it would come as a medical miracle. I stepped onto the porch, arms crossed. Calm. Done playing the fool. A mistake. I said. You spent 10,000 pounds of my money on a Rolex. Lied about medical bills. Filed a police complaint. That's not a mistake. That's a choice. The tears came. Proper, big, ugly ones. And I felt nothing. Not pity. Not guilt. Just relief that finally I'd stop being the mug who thought love meant endless forgiveness. We've lost everything, Amelia whispered, her voice cracking. William's furious. Oh, sweetheart. The world's tiniest violin is currently playing just for you. He cut us off. Please, Daddy, we need you. Yes, the royal we. The same we that happily filed false police reports and spent 10 grand of my money on luxury jewelry. Now suddenly, we're a family again. Fascinating how quickly we reappear when the money dries up. Her admission hinted at deeper losses, probably some half-baked plan with William's business. But she didn't elaborate. I didn't care to ask either. If she wanted to ruin her CV further, who was I to interrupt? I straightened, my gaze steady. You made your choices. Live with them. And, oh, what a hallmark moment that was. If Hallmark ever made a range of cards for disowning your daughter and her leech of a husband, that line would be front and center. A memory flashed. Amelia, at 7, handing me a crayon-scribbled card that said best dad ever. Pure smile, sticky fingers, unearned optimism. That girl was long gone. Now I had this stranger begging for absolution like I was some sort of divine refunds department. Liam shifted, mumbling in his usual tragic whisper. We'll do anything, Paul. Just name it. Yes, the offer of anything. Usually code for we'll do the bare minimum if it benefits us. His desperation might have been moving if it wasn't wrapped in cowardice and that god-awful aftershave. I shook my head, stepping back toward the door. There's nothing left to say. Translation. Please leave before I get charged with noise pollution from your whining. The door hinges groaned dramatically as I pushed it open, almost as if they too were tired of this soap opera. Amelia sobbed behind me, a sound that once would have shattered me. Now it just sounded like bad acting on daytime telly. Inside, silence. Just the stopped clock on the mantelpiece, judging me like, finally grew a spine, did you? Phone buzz. Elaine. Bright as ever. Paul, got time for a walk? Park. Noon. Final step. Her words carried promise. Or a threat. Hard to tell, with Elaine. Either way, I said yes. The park was in full bloom. Lilacs, freshly cut grass. Couples pretending they liked each other. Meanwhile, I carried a check from pawning off the infamous Rolex. $9,800 after fees. Slightly less than the original betrayal package. But hey, apparently heartbreak depreciates faster than a new car. I'd already decided to give it away. Kids shelter downtown. Because if my daughter couldn't be saved, at least someone else might. And yes, donating it felt smugly saintly. I practically deserved a halo and my own him. Elaine walked beside me, kicking gravel with that lawyerly confidence. You could have bought a yacht with that money, Paul. Or, at least a watch for yourself. I smirked. Nah. I chose peace. Translation. I chose not to look like a middle-aged man compensating for a midlife crisis. The kids' shelter staff had cried when I handed them the check. Sweet people. If they knew it came from the world's most toxic Rolex, they'd probably frame it in the lobby under Exhibit A. Betrayal can be profitable. Elaine winked. Damn good choice. Though next time you're feeling generous, a coffee date wouldn't kill you. Her grin made me laugh, a sound I hadn't heard from myself in a while. It wasn't romance exactly. More like a promise that the universe wasn't done giving me plot twists. We reached the lake. I skimmed a stone across the water, my one free therapy session. The ripples spread, neat and obedient, unlike my life. A memory of Ellen surfaced, her hand in mine. We'd promised to face the world together. I lost her. Then, Amelia. But somewhere between pawn shops and police stations, I'd found myself. Elaine stopped by a bench, her voice softer now. You've come a long way. From socks to this. Not exactly Shakespeare, but fair enough. She was right. Not bad for a guy who thought he'd lost everything. I sat beside her, sunlight warming the wood. Couldn't have done it without you. And I meant it. She'd given me a chance when even I thought I wasn't worth saving. A breeze stirred the air, carrying that spring smell, hoped lilacs, and maybe someone barbecuing too close to the bins. Elaine brushed her hair aside, smirking. Stick with me, Paul. I've got a new project. Community fund. Might need a man with your heart. Translation, congratulations, you've been promoted from heartbroken dad to charity volunteer. I tossed another stone. Watched the ripples spread. For once, I didn't feel the clock in my head counting down to disaster. It ticked softly forward, like maybe time and I were on the same side again. Elaine offered her hand. I took it. Warm. Steady. Real. We walked on, her laughter mingling with the breeze. And me? For the first time in years, I was ready. And that's it. My daughter lost 10 grand, a Rolex, and, shocker, her free access to my wallet. I gained peace, a lighter heart, and apparently a new side hustle as an unwilling philanthropist. Not bad for a bloke who started this mess buying socks. If you enjoyed this delightful little train wreck, do the usual YouTube rituals. Hit like, it's free therapy for me. Subscribe, because clearly, my life is cheaper than Netflix, but just as dramatic. And drop a comment. Tell me, would you forgive Amelia, or would you let her cry into her designer handbag like I did? Stick around. The next story is just as messy, possibly worse. Because when life gives me betrayal, I give you content. Cheers.